powerful God is, and Brother Hovind says his God is powerful enough to do it in 6 days, and that my God is inept because I claim a God that did it in 17 billion years, I have to say, well then, why not 7 nanoseconds? Or why didn't he just do it instantly? Boom! Because for whatever reason, in the chronology that's described in the Scriptures, it follows a sequence. And the writers of the chronology put some devices on it for us to remember. My particular belief is that those devices were terms. Those particular terms included the word day, yom. It's perfectly consistent within the Scriptures to interpret the term day as a 12-hour period, a 24-hour period, or a long period of time. Elsewhere through Genesis, for example, the term day is used in reference to the harvest time. Or, we might say Abraham Lincoln in his day. It's a natural thing for us to use terminology like that. It's used throughout the Scriptures in many, many multiple of occasions, and it's not wrong for us to take it in this context. Why is it then that I have chosen to take the context somewhat differently than the one that seems to show the most powerful God? Because as I showed earlier, I am working from what is called a dual revelational paradigm. The dual revelational paradigm believes that God put His truth in place and that it's true in both places. That He put nature in place and He communicates from us truly with nature. He put His Word in place and He communicates with us truly in His Word. And I believe you occasionally have to set the two of those side by side. And that you have to use a systematic theology to look at those things and say, if nature is saying this, if the Word is saying this, and if there is an apparent contradiction, do we reconcile it? Or do we walk away from it? I believe that it's necessary for us to make that reconciliation. Because if we don't make that reconciliation, what we have, in effect, is a universe that sent us light over 17 billion light years away. It is moving away from us, as Dr. Hovind has suggested. And since it is moving away from us, it's expanding. And that light has gotten to us after about 17 billion years, and we're observing it now. For us to have observed it any sooner than that, either the events on the outside edge of that travel never occurred or were fictitiously made by God for us to observe them that way, or they actually happened at that distance and that amount of time away from us. I believe that God communicates His Word in truth. There are numerous examples of this. I could list just a few: Psalms 104, Psalms 139, Job 38:41. But my need is to take a look at this concept of a long day. The first chapter of Genesis declares that within 6 days, God's miraculously transformed a formless void, the earth, into a suitable habitat for mankind. The meaning for day here has become the center of the controversy. Does it or does it not make for a conflict between the Scripture and science? The answer to that depends upon whether the time periods indicated are 24 hours or in the order of millions of years. Many scientists and many Bible scholars would agree that the correct and literal interpretation for the creation day is one that takes into account definitions, context, grammar, and relevant passages in other parts of Scripture. All we're trying to do is take a systematic approach to this. In fact, one of the problems I have with the approach to the Scriptures that take one verse out of a series and apply it to all of our life is the failure to do a systematic approach to the Scriptures. Because you see, even the Scriptures, on occasion, have items in them that you look at and you say, it just said this. I'll give you an example in Proverbs. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, or he will despise you. The very next verse it says, answer a fool according to his folly, or he will despise you. Are we wrong in taking both of those as correct? Isn't one or the other true? The fact of the matter is that the Scriptures intend for us to take both as true. And I believe that the Scriptures are also saying that we should take nature as true, as well as the Scriptures. And the unfortunate problem with not doing that is that you have circular reasoning. Perhaps I'll be able to get back to this in a moment. But if you take one form of inspiration and you say it alone carries the whole weight of the argument, you have it confirming that in itself. Do you see that as to be circular reasoning? Anyway, my time's up.
Thank you, Cal. Michael Sherman.
Okay, now look. I really like what Kyle had to say. He's very thoughtful in his thoughts on the Bible. I concur with much of that, actually. And Dr. Hovind, I have never heard somebody give a 2-hour lecture in 15 minutes like you can. Your law students would have fun taking notes from this guy. Get that tape recorder handy. Ken says I should be skeptical of evolution. Well, I used to be. I was a total skeptic of evolution. I didn't believe it. I didn't for years, for a long time. I read all the creationist literature. I read what the creationists said was evolution, and I didn't believe it because it sure didn't make sense. Then I actually took some courses in the science of evolutionary biology, and I found out, oh, well, this is nothing what the creationists were saying that it was. This is like a science. This is a whole different thing. This isn't anything what I was told. Then I realized, okay, these are two different things. Science is different than religion. It's a whole different way of thinking. It's a different way of analyzing the world. It's just, they're really quite different fields of knowledge. And I found out I was making a huge mistake when I attempted to completely overlap them and use one to prove the other. It doesn't work that way. So I then became, as it were, a believer in evolution, although belief isn't even the right word. You don't believe in evolution. It either is or it isn't, based on the evidence. It's not an article of faith. Which brings me to the subject of, is evolution a religion? Look, if evolution's a religion, by which I presume Dr. Hovind means evolutionary theory and the science, not the process itself. If that's a religion, then everything's a religion. Human history, the study of human history is a religion. Archaeology is a religion. Paleontology is a religion. This sort of cheapens what we mean by religion. A religion is a community of believers that serves a social and moral purpose in society. Its purpose is not to test empirical hypotheses. That's what science does. And science has been really good at that. And that's why in the last 400 years, science and religion have largely separated as two spheres or magisteria of looking at the world. Not all religions require belief in a deity, but most do, and certainly evolution doesn't. Dr. Hovind put up a long laundry list of scientists who are creationists. So what? I can give up a laundry list of theologians and deeply religious people, born-agains, who believe evolution. What does this mean? It doesn't mean anything. That's not how we operate in science. We don't go based on how many big-name people believe it. That's not how science works. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter if nobody believes evolution. It either happened or it didn't. And for the record, by the way, the last survey on this was that 40% of American scientists believe in God. So either, and virtually all of them believe in evolution. So either they're all idiots, or it's okay to believe in evolution and believe in God. It certainly appears to be, since most of them do. Okay, now the question is, I have for Dr. Hovind, or even for Kyle as well. If God did it, aren't you curious how she did it? Thank you. I didn't expect that from this group. Okay, I'll take it. In science, we just want to answer questions about the natural world. So, if God did the fine-tuning of the universe, or did this with the protons and electrons, or did this with the whale flipper, or whatever, how did God do it? Did God use genes? Did he use, for the cosmos stuff, the electromagnetic force, the weak nuclear force, the strong nuclear force? Just gravity, some other force we don't know about? What force did God use? As soon as you ask that question, you're now doing science. That's what science is. It's just naturalism. And there's only naturalism.